So you may recall a few days ago, was it a few weeks ago, I completely forgot, we spoke about Erik Brannstrom and the idea of whether or not the Ottawa Senators would go out there and actually make a trade involving him. This entire idea was spawned because of an article on the Ottawa Sun published by Bruce Garrioch, and I did say it in the video, man, all those days ago, or all those weeks ago, I completely forgot, that this piece by Garrioch, it's a weird one. The way he phrases certain things, it's kind of strange, and a lot of it is kind of like, duh. Like, he makes some really obvious points that aren't even really points, they're just kind of facts of hockey itself. But either way, the weird article and the weird point-making aside, this piece goes over a few other things, not just relating to Erik Brannstrom. The entire article goes over the Ottawa Senators and their offseason thus far, and at the time of me recording this video, which is August 21st, 11:42 p.m. PST, or should I say PDT, a lot of these issues have not actually come to fruition yet. There have not been any attempts at solving these problems or whatever. They've just been kind of conversation points here. So, we're revisiting this Ottawa Sun piece. The article title is right here. The Ottawa Senators GM Pierre Dorion has had a busy offseason with more work ahead before camp. This was published on August 14th, so it's not too old, but it is kind of, it's about a weekish old by the time this video is going to be uploaded. As we noted, the first part we talked about was Erik Brannstrom and the entire trade idea, but there are indeed other ideas, that in which is not going to be completely covered in this video. The first idea we're going to be discussing, though, is in the moving pieces part of this article. Let's scroll down to the second point, right underneath the entire Erik Brannstrom thing. There are rumors making the rounds on the internet that the Senators have had talks with the San Jose Sharks about center Tomas Hertl. He's a year away from being a UFA, and we're led to believe there's nothing to any of that chatter. Before we continue, there's a name right there, center guy, San Jose Sharks, Tomas Hertl, scored 4 goals in a game which resulted in Joe Thornton making a very strange comment. Hertl, no go. Doesn't look like he's a target of interest here for the Ottawa Senators. However, New York Rangers center Ryan Strome may make sense for the Senators if the Rangers trade for Jack Eichel. Chicago is also trying to move center Dylan Strome, and Ottawa has shown mild interest. Could we see an Ottawa Senators trade for either one of the Strome brothers, Dylan or Ryan Strome, two guys who are out here as NHL caliber centers with very different stories leading up to this point? Let's discuss the entire context here, what these two players are about, and whether or not a trade with the Ottawa Senators could actually work out in this way. So, let's go over the first one that is mentioned here in this piece, Ryan Strome. 28 years old, 6'1", 194, right-handed center. 2022 is when his contract of a 4.5 AAV expires, wherein he will need another contract. He made 4.5 a season for 2 years with the Rangers, and he is, among the two, the better one. At this point, at least, because Ryan Strome is coming off a year where he had 49 points in 56 games played, 59 points in 70 games played the year before. He was a guy who, playing with Edmonton and the Islanders, he never really found his groove in the same way he did with the Rangers. Now, he had a 50-point season with the Islanders in 2015, but that was about it. Aside from that, up and down Bridgeport, Islanders, Edmonton Oilers system as well, he never really had the same level of success as he has today. Now, a lot of that could be contributed to the fact that he's playing with guys like Artemi Panarin and all these other pretty good players on the Rangers, but it cannot be said that Ryan Strome today is any worse than the versions of Ryan Strome we have had in the past. Because of the entire Jack Eichel talks, it makes the Rangers' entire idea for center more interesting, because you do have Mika Zibanejad. If you have a Jack Eichel on your team, all of a sudden, okay, Ryan Strome, he's just under a point per game in 2020, 2021. You're going to play this guy on the third line now? What, are you going to do that? No. That is most likely going to piss the heck off out of Ryan Strome as well as the agent, because guess what's going to happen? You're going to play this guy who is under a point per game on the third line in a contract season. The second Strome goes out there and he plays a full season on the third line, he is no longer going to have that negotiating power that comes with being a player who was just under a point per game in the previous year. He had himself 2 very strong seasons, but playing another one on the third line behind Eichel and Zibanejad is just going to really bring down his entire value on the market. And if you're an NHL player, you're going to go out there and you're going to say, well, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not going to get paid. If I produce less, there's going to be no reason for a team to shell out some big bucks to me, even though I was just under a point per game in 2021. So I can totally understand the idea that Garrioch is putting out here as to Ryan Strome being a trade target only if the New York Rangers actually go out there and acquire Jack Eichel in a trade. It is kind of interesting, though, because you have to ask yourself, okay, if Eichel is traded to New York, would a Ryan Strome not actually be included in that kind of package in the first place? That's another discussion for another day, but Ryan Strome to me is the better of the two right here. He knows how to play with star players. He's been very good the past 2 seasons. He is going to be in the contract year next season, though, which, if you're the Ottawa Senators, should not really be a problem because they have cap space, but it's Eugene Melnyk, so I don't really know. Now, as for the other Strome right here, it says in the piece that the Chicago Blackhawks are trying to move center Dylan Strome, and Ottawa has shown mild interest. Dylan is in a completely different boat than Ryan. Sure, they were both top picks at the NHL Draft, Ryan in 2011, Dylan in 2015, but Dylan has not had his breakout yet. Dylan had his best season in 2018-19, where he was traded over to the Chicago Blackhawks, and he was just under a point per game in that stint. 51 points, 58 games played. I remember making videos about this 2 years ago. Dylan Strome was 22 years old, and I was like, yeah, look at this guy. He is really showing off what made him so good and so special with the Erie Otters back when Connor McDavid departed that system. Now, you take a look at where Strome has gone. He's in Chicago still, and he's wrapping up a year where he had 17 points in 40 games played. It's kind of interesting because this was supposed to be the year, in my opinion, where everything was supposed to go right for Strome. Doc was out. Taves was out. 2 very good caliber centers out of the lineup all of a sudden opens the door to anybody else to come in here and snag those top minutes, snag those shifts with Patrick Kane, and Dylan Strome to me was supposed to be one of the guys at the top of that list. However, if you take a look at what happened on the Chicago Blackhawks in 2020-2021, Dylan Strome definitely was not part of that. You had Pia Sutar, who was really good. Janmark actually outscored Dylan Strome too. And the overall situation with Dylan certainly has taken a turn for the worse the past few years. We even had ourselves some bigger trade rumors like a year ago as to whether or not the Chicago Blackhawks would go out there and trade the negotiating rights for Dylan Strome. He ended up signing a 2-year, $3 million AAV contract back then, but now he's got 1 year left at $3 million AAV. He's 24 years old. He'll be 25 by the end of next season. And he still has a lot more to prove when it comes to consistency in the National Hockey League. Sure, he had that one great year. He was playing with DeBrincat. I was a big fan of Dylan Strome and what he did in 2018-19. But he just hasn't had that level of success any other year. It's a really big punch to the gut to anybody who was out there looking at his days with the Erie Otters and saying, yeah, he had 75 points in 35 games played. He was the best OHLer after Connor McDavid left. He was the guy. And now you take a look at where he has gone down. It's really unfortunate to see that his best days seem to have been 2 years ago. But of course, he's only 24. There still is a lot of room for a guy like Dylan Strome to go out there and show us that he still has more to give, more to improve upon, and a better showcase up forward in the future. Whether that's in Chicago, though, or in some other place like maybe Ottawa, it's yet to be seen. Plus, we do have Jonathan Taves and we do have the Kirby Docs as well, slowly making their way back into the lineup, so that could honestly be another Ryan Strome kind of scenario where it's like, okay, I'm here in a contract year and we have some other really good centers coming back into our lineup. Do I really want to be here? Do I really want to be in a third, fourth line position playing significantly lower minutes than I should have been able to play in a contract year? Maybe Ottawa is indeed the saving grace in these discussions over here. Maybe it's Dylan Strome, maybe it's Ryan Strome, one of the two, either or. Talk to me in the comments. What do you think about the Ottawa Senators and whether or not they could acquire one of the two Strome brothers? If not, hey, maybe even both of them. Have Strome, and Tkachuk as an Ottawa Senators pairing right there on a power play, because you know everybody's going to be talking about Matthew. But either way, if you're a Rangers fan, talk to me in the comments. What do you think about this entire idea of trading Ryan Strome to Ottawa? What would you want from the Sens in return? Chicago Blackhawks fan, same question, but talking about Dylan this time. I personally would understand it if Ryan Strome and the ask from Rangers fans would be a lot bigger than the Blackhawks fan base and what Dylan Strome would cost, mostly because of track record and what they have done recently in the National Hockey League. But either way, they're both NHLers. Ryan seems to be better at the moment, but Dylan still has a lot more years left. Talk to me in the comments if you think you enjoyed this video. 99. And bye.